This episode of The Take with Tyriq is brought to you by Atlanta Brand Central, your one-stop shop for custom apparel. Whether you need a shirt, you need some merch, you need some material, printed campaigns, corporate swag, whatever it is, fulfillment services, they got you from the boardroom to the block. Whether you're running a campaign or launching a brand, outfitting your swag, whatever it is, they make your message visible and unforgettable. Visit atlantabrandcentral.com and start your project today. Welcome to The Take with Tyriq, where real conversations meet real perspectives. Thank you, Marci, for being here. I'm your host, Tyriq Jackson, and a little bit about this show. It's about leadership, culture, and people shaping the future, not just in politics or business, but how we think, how we live, and how we move forward together. And that's why I wanted you here today. In this episode, is featuring you, Atlanta City Council member Marci Collier-Overstreet, who's now running for council president. You're known for your deep roots in Atlanta, Southwest Atlanta, with a track record of delivering on key issues like affordable housing, small business development, and equitable growth. Marci joins us to discuss her vision for the future, what inspired her to run for council president, and how your leadership is grounded in community and can keep Atlanta's growth inclusive and balanced. This conversation will not only just blend political insight, but storytelling and powerful reflection from you, hopefully. And so this is going to be a good conversation, I feel like, about your progress, power, and purpose in Atlanta's next chapter. So welcome to the show, Marci.
I'm excited to be here. You said progress, power, and purpose.
Yeah.
Wow. Deep words, big ones, big words.
So let's get to it, Marci. So who's Marci? Like, who's Marci? Tell us about Marci Collier-Overstreet.
So Marcy is actually a free spirit, believe it or not. I found politics by way of just community service,
Mhm.
customer service. I'm a retiree of Delta Airlines and just love working with people. And I had no idea that I wanted to be a politician. I don't even like the word, to be honest, but it is what people think when they see me or hear me in my work field now. But yeah, just a real free spirit. Just do what feels right at the moment where I can be most impactful. And that's how I've always been from younger than you. That's just how I did it and how I still do it.
Yeah, I believe that because every time I've met you years ago, seeing you doing the work, because I grew up here as well, and so way like I think that was like my freshman year or sophomore years when I was around you doing like 10 years ago, and when I saw you doing the work and getting prepared to run your campaign the first time. So it's kind of crazy that we're here now and you're running for council president. You mentioned you worked for Delta, and my mom worked for Delta too, so that kind of like sparked the interest in me. What was that like? What did you do for Delta?
Oh my goodness. So let's start with summer of my senior year from Mays High School. I was actually working in a summer internship program for Delta Airlines over on the other side of Greenbrier Mall. So this was like summer of 82,
Hmm.
1982. And I was in their sorting room and we were sorting out at the time tickets. Airline tickets were in like fourplicate is what we would call it.
Hmm.
And we were sorting the pink ones and the yellow ones and the blue ones and the white ones. And I did that all summer long to just learn different departments of Delta Airlines. I was fascinated about Delta and flying and airplanes and transportation and traveling. And I still am. Like today, it just blows my mind, and I enjoy every bit of transportation.
Yeah, no, it's that's interesting, right? Because as somebody who takes flight lessons, I'm always like intrigued by and really fascinated by everybody who works at the airport or any portion of aviation, because you kind of learn to be so detail oriented, because any mistake can be a catastrophic failure. And so down to the staff who just work at Delta or any airline, like I've always noticed that they've had this really kind of procedural ability to kind of work very efficiently. And I'm sure that that's something that you've learned there too.
Oh, for sure. I used to do focus groups with Delta while in flight. I was a Delta flight attendant for 20 years. So um, kept being asked over and over again, uh, can you transfer to the office and be in a managerial position for,
Hmm.
a couple months? Do you mind doing focus groups? Anything except for the line. And I enjoyed the line. So every now and then I would do a focus group. And I did enjoy doing the focus group because what I realized is that everybody owns their position at Delta Airlines. Like they
Hmm.
really do. Everyone is a real person of their craft, no matter what that position is. And the from checking people in when you come up with your baggage and needed to be
Hmm.
tagged to when you're leaving, showing you which direction to go, headed to baggage claim, like everyone owns it. And Delta instills that in you. It's almost like that same Chick-fil-A mentality. Delta has it. And so we owned it and we were all proud to do our part. So um, I enjoyed being on the airplanes. I knew that it's only for people kind of people, right?
Hmm.
Like if you don't like people, you don't need to be trapped in an airplane with anybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because after talking to so many pilots, I realized it's such a social job. It's not just, you have to navigate flight attendants, and flight attendants have to navigate different types of pilots, and pilots like, things different type of way, and you get information from base, and
That's
you
right.
just learn how to be an effective communicator.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads me to my next question, which is like, what have you learned about Atlanta and the people outside of government that you never see?
Oh my goodness. So, what I know most about Atlanta from just being other places and coming back home all the time is that Atlanta is a special spirit. Like, there's something very special about
Yeah.
Atlanta. And I had no idea growing up that my desire to feel as if I could do anything I wanted to do is not the same desire that is happening to all young kids throughout the country, right?
Hmm.
But Atlanta is a special place where there is nothing that you think you cannot do in Atlanta, even as a black little girl or um, whoever you are. You
Hmm.
think that it's a possibility because we have so much to pick from here and there's so much support in Atlanta. Icons walk the street in Atlanta, people that folk read about from miles and miles away, you can actually sit down next to them at a grand opening for something here
Hmm.
in this city. And that's a real thing. And or they will come to your school or they will talk to you on the phone because you've been connected to them by someone. Like that's just what Atlanta is. So I never thought that it was nothing I couldn't do from from roaming the streets right here in our city.
Yeah, I say that too because I'll never forget one time. It was my freshman year. My one of my close friends, who stayed in the dorm across from my dorm in Graves, um, his dad like gave us tickets to a basketball game because at the time I really liked the Bulls. I was a Derrick Rose fan, so I was trying to go see Derrick Rose. Never saw
Mm-hmm.
him, and somehow, some way, like his tickets got upgraded. So somehow, some way, his tickets got upgraded. So it was so funny because they were like, "Oh yeah, now y'all are like near the floor," and I looked to my left, and it was Chris Tucker, and to my right was Two Chains, and I'm like,
That's
"Wow, this is
right.
cool." And I'm just having a conversation,
Yep.
and his son ended up, Chris Tucker's son ended up going to Morehouse, and stuff like that. So I just thought that it was. I agree with you.
Yeah. It's
So
real.
what was it like? Because you mentioned Maze and you mentioned how knew that you could be something
Mm-hmm.
growing up, because of the access you had and the access kind of the city of Atlanta provides by seeing, black mayors and black judges and black doctors and black lawyers, and seeing somebody and saying, my mentor would always say, you can't be what you can't see.
That's right. It's
And
true.
so, what was that like growing up in that era versus how you see it now?
Goodness, instrumental in me deciding what to do. Because while I was at Mays High School, I was there the first day Mays opened, in 1981. And we were so proud, the Raiders, the newest school ever
Hmm.
around Atlanta. It was when Atlanta adopted the middle school, because I never went to middle school, because
Hmm.
when Mays opened, I was there the first day. That's the first day of Southwest Middle School, and that's when middle schools happen
Okay.
around the city of Atlanta too. So when I was in elementary school went from from kindergarten to seventh grade,
Hmm.
and then high school was
Yeah.
eighth grade to 12th grade.
Yeah, I
Right?
remember my like
Yeah,
aunts would tell me that
yeah.
they did it like that too.
So when I got to Mays, I was in the 11th grade. And so I was there the first year it opened, but it was 11th grade. But what our principal would do would be to bring in the superintendent all the time to speak to us.
Hmm.
And Monica Kaufman came in. And I thought she was the best thing ever. She spent so much time with our senior class. And I thought, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to do something around broadcast journalism when I
Hmm.
grow up, is what I was thinking. And sure enough, when I went off to college, I went to Southern University for the first 2 years.
Hmm.
And the weird thing is how children pick their colleges. I don't even want to tell you how I decided to go to Southern University. You know, as a high school student, I decided to go to Southern University, first of all, because they had the best band on the planet, right?
I mean that's valid.
Okay.
Growing up,
Yeah.
how we grew up, that's valid.
But the only reason I chose Southern over FAMU is because of the band and because the colors of Southern were Columbia blue and gold.
Yeah.
So was my high school colors. Okay, you
Right.
can't make this up. Okay, so I decided to go to Southern, and that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And while there, I said, you know what? I'm going to do journalism. So I came back home to Georgia State and I got my degree in journalism and management, and that was because of Monica Kaufman.
So
Time.
so at what point did you decide? Were you like in any SGA, any clubs in high school or
I
college
was
and
in
stuff
all
like
the
that?
social clubs.
All the social clubs?
So when I say free spirit, I really mean that, Tyriq. I can't express that enough. Okay.
I know
I
you.
was in the social clubs, all right? But all of my friends, the social clubs, but yet an honor student at the same time. So I got my work, but I played a lot. I played a whole lot. I mean, I picked a college because of the band. So that should tell you right there. But so I was in what we call Kappa Pearls and Precise and all of these social clubs. And so I was so social. I still am. I'm a very social person.
Yeah, I mean, when we at our HBCUs and then, at kind of Georgia State, our clubs are really important because that's where you learn and grow and you have access. That's really where I kind of got involved with a lot of stuff that I wasn't, known to do, or international affairs and stuff like that. So, that makes a lot of sense. So what in those clubs did you like meet new people that you learn new things from? Like, how did Marci go from, being social to, I mean, you're obviously an honor student, being social to then politics?
So I think it's about it happened somewhere around once I retired from Delta Airlines. First of all, I was motivated at Georgia State to get my degree because I knew all I wanted to do was go back and work for Delta. Okay, I knew I wanted to be a flight attendant and I was like, of course, I thought I will only do that for like 2 years. Everybody wants to do something for 2 years when they're in their 20s. They don't think, I'm going to get in this job and I'm going to stay here for 20 years. You don't think that at all. I thought, I'm just going to travel the world for 2 years. And then so I did that. But while a flight attendant, I started deciding, okay, I'm ready for a family, right? Because believe it or not, flight attendants have a whole lot of free time.
Yeah.
A lot of free time. So I would work 2 nights a week, literally. So it'll be like 3 on, 4 off is what it's called, but that's just 2 nights a week. So that gives you a lot of time to be a stay-at-home mom. So I was at home with my kids once I married. I was at home with my kids, and when I decided to retire and just be at home full time, I did the full retirement with Delta and be at home full time. I started doing more work around fundraising for schools and leadership positions in my organizations like Jack and Jill, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and the PTSA. I was the PTA president, those kind of things. And when I saw that I had a persuasive nature where people would actually decide, well, what does Marci think? How have you talked to Marci? Maybe we'll be able to get those 10 people to come to this. Has Marci called anybody? When that happens for years, and I mean years, like 4 or 5 years at a time, then okay, so I probably can do things that maybe someone else couldn't do as well. And I started leaning more into that, being the parents' corral person. Like, I would just make sure that we got it together. And then I started this small business called Mommy Knows Best. And Mommy Knows Best was born out of me feeling really sad for the moms that couldn't make it to all of the events that we were planning at school, right? Because I was a stay-at-home mom. I was able to drive my kids to school every morning, and then I would get out the car, literally, and stay at the school for hours and just hang out and help the teachers, help the students, fill in. And I did all of this because I was blessed enough to do so, because my husband loved me being a stay-at-home mom, to be honest. But I, again, very social still, felt like I wanted to help the mothers that were not able to be there with me, because they felt so guilty. And so I would say, well, tell you what, you sign up for what it is that you want to do, and I'll just make sure that that is done for you, so that you have your name here. You pop in when you can, and when you can't, these are for the working moms, and when you can't, you're covered, right? And so my business, which was really a nonprofit, because we didn't make a dime, didn't try to, actually. I just wanted it to have a name and make sure that people felt comfortable, leaning into that. And they would say, well, I want to donate 2 dozen donuts to the Halloween party. Well, I would make sure that happened, because I had time to do that. And they felt like they were part of the situation. When they were at work, they would just show up for the party. Do you know what I mean? So that is when I realized, maybe, just maybe, I have a good persuasive nature and an organizational skill that most may not have.
Yeah. I mean, because you always say community over politics. And that's something I've always noticed that you say. And it sounds like to me you were able to, and that's why I tell a lot of people to join clubs, to do sports, whether you're good or not, because the access you have to different minds and different thinking with a collective goal. And to me, it was like you were able to combine different aspects of all your learning processes to then put it all together and say, hey, I want to do more for the community that I can't necessarily or wouldn't necessarily have access to without, aspiring for, some policy making role, because we're all governed by policies.
That's right. That's exactly right. And to me, the legislative branch should be about making sure that we're taking care of the community. Where are the gaps? Who needs more of what? And why don't we have the confidence of thinking that we should be able to walk our dogs to the park? What do we need to install here so that people feel good about that? And so that really is how I govern. It's not some major plan schemes that go on. It really is the every day-to-day installations that make a difference in everyone's life that motivates me the most.
Yeah, you do this. So, I mean, let's get into it then. So, council president race, right? You're running for council president. Why now? And what's in stake for you in this race? What's at stake for Atlantans in this race?
Oh goodness! So the stakes are high. If I win, they're excellent. If I don't, I think that the city has a lot to lose, because we've done so much good work for the past 4 to 8 years while I've been on council. And why now? Because literally for the last 4 to 8 years, I've been able to get a whole lot of work done, transformational work done in the community. And I'm talking fresh food installations throughout the district, whether it be at a church or a recreation center or a real standalone going in on Campbellton and DeLoe, which was a huge feat. That was years in the making of field trips and begging and pleading and then fussing and all of that. So from fresh food access to implementing complete streets projects, and that looks like paved streets with sidewalks added to places where used to have dirt paths for people walking to the bus in a high ridership area. And now it's sidewalks, it's the beautiful street lights and benches and all of those things, right? To green space, purchasing the land and working with the community to decide, should it be an attraction or should it be a neighborhood installation? Like, what do you want your park to look like, to actually having a trail in a park and a big old playground and hosting ice cream, get out to school events.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched the Atlanta I knew because, like, and I'll be honest, when I was growing up, my mom she moved me to the South Side because, you know, my mom grew up in Carver and around Carver area, Carver Homes. So you're familiar, and you know what I'm saying, it wasn't the best area always. And she wanted me to have, you know, access to, you know, some of those spaces. And this was, you know, when I was younger. And then, you know, just what I was saying, like around the time that I met you, going to Morehouse my freshman year, it was so amazing to see the transformations. And then I always told people, from the time that I was a freshman, which was 2014, to the time 2018, so much in Atlanta, especially South Atlanta, because all my family, I grew up going to, I lived by Greenbrier Mall. I remember going to the Burlington and the Macy's and seeing all the businesses and all of I remember taking pictures with Black Santa in the mall right there by the Piccadillys. And seeing now the inclusive growth that you all have continued since, you know, I remember reading a lot about Maynard Jackson and, you know, his influence in making sure that community, especially the community that looked like him, was at the table. And I've seen that from you in all of those areas. And so what about those accomplishments and being able to get things done? What was the most challenging part? Is it like, I can only imagine working with council might be a little challenging at times, or? Oh, that's the easy part. Okay.
Yeah, so changing mindset is really hard. And speaking of the Greenbrier area, even though Burlington left the building, Macy's left the building, the community directly around Greenbrier still didn't want to change anything, but wanted everything to be at the mall, right? A private property. So how do you convince a private property owner to put everything there and change nothing around it? So what you have to do is be kind of like an educator. Let everybody know, you don't change anything, you don't get anything different. So what we need to do is put workforce housing around Greenbrier Mall so that you'll have more foot traffic here. The density is missing. And what's going to happen if we keep down this road is we're going to empty out our elementary schools. So you want the community to be at the table to understand, how do you get the things inside your mall that you want? You want an ice cream shop? Because Baskin Robbins used to be there when I was growing up. How do we get Baskin Robbins back to Greenbrier Mall? Well, you're going to need to make sure you have some affordable housing over here so that the children will need some Baskin Robbins on Saturday. If you're aged out, you're not going to get anything different. And so just really having the community at the table while I'm bringing the developers to the table and offering community benefits agreements throughout, that means the community gets to tell the developers, you don't get your project if you can't buy into our community. We would like for you to X, Y, and Z. And one example of and I have installed over 2,500 affordable units around the Greenbrier radius, because I know that's what it takes in order for anyone to want to have a business around Greenbrier, right? One of the examples is the developer put money into a foundation that we started. Ishay Collins and I started the Cluster Foundation of the Thero Cluster Foundation, so that anyone that couldn't figure out what they wanted to do for a community benefits agreement was able to buy into it by pouring into Thero and Continental Colony and Ralph Bunch Middle School and all of the Fickett, all of the elementary schools into a foundation. So just making sure communities at the table, you have to explain to them what happens if you do work with this developer to give you the beautiful workforce housing I know they can do, because I wouldn't bring you any old developer, because it's my community too, right? You want to make sure that you're teaching at the same time as changing. Like, you can't bulldoze your way to a transformation. And I've just been at the table with the community.
In translation, you've been listening to every side, and you've been able to kind of mediate in between, but making sure all voices are at the table. And that actually leads me into what I was going to ask you about next, because you talk a lot about listening, and you say leadership is a lot about listening. What have you heard or learned from one of your mentors or individuals in the space that you're in, that you've listened to, that kind of comes back up and rings a bell for you?
So my mentors are like real icons, which is crazy to even talk about. But these are the things that ring in my head every time I think it's too cold or I'm tired or any of those things. I think about Zernona Clayton, who's 95, 96 now. I've celebrated several birthdays with her. She's my mentor. And literally, she's tireless. She is still working so hard for motherless daughters and all of her other programs that she just loves to work for, because she has made such a difference in the communities, and she's not tired. So how could I be tired, right? Ambassador Young, I remember he was supposed to be pinning us for the YMCA board, coming on for the Young Family YMCA board, and it was literally a blizzard outside. And I mean a blizzard. And again, he's 90 plus. And I was like, well, ring, ring, ring. Hey, so are we going to reschedule this pinning today?
Like, no.
They're like, Ambassador Young is on the way. I was like, what? I hurried and got my butt right over where I was supposed to be, because the people that show me the way, that have paved the way for me, well, they're not tired, Tyriq. So neither am I. It's very inspiring. So I literally get to see and talk to, and I mean within the last month or a couple weeks, the people that motivate me, that believe in the work that I do, they're not tired, and they're not young, okay? So I have no reason to not always push forward and to always try to dream up the next thing, because that is what they did. They listened to the community, really stayed at the table with them the whole time, and on to the next. Like, they're still getting it.
How important is it to dream?
It's so important. Like, and this is what I like. So the District 11, I don't know if you've looked at that race, but it's pretty deep.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's a deep bench over there right now, right? I'm like, I got you.
You had about, what, 11, 12 people wanting to come right behind you, right?
Right. So I'm like, wow.
Got it hot. My hot.
This seat is was hot. And so I thought, they come to me and they're like, so, give me some examples or what is it that, that you do? I was like, what, the only thing you need to do is have a vision. And don't just dream about, let's just make sure that we, get some extra benches at the MARTA stop. No, you go
Have a
home
number.
and you think about looking around, what is it that you're missing? If you want to stay here and grow old, because that was my motivation, if you want to stay here and grow old, what don't you have here? And how do you get that, right? I decided that I wanted my dogs to be socialized because I see them having a good old time at fetch and everything, everywhere else.
Oh, yeah.
Like a ball. And the parents of the dogs are literally at the bar and hanging out while the dogs are over here in the swimming pool.
Having a good time.
And having a good old time with each other. And I'm like, I need one of those. So that's how I got my dog park. The first one south of 20, or my senior facility that is at John A. White Park that's coming, $20 million installation, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, where am I going to do my programming in the next 15, 20 years? I want to do that at the golf course. Dream big is what I told my District 11 people that are coming behind me. Dream big. Dream bigger than me. If I put in a $20 million installation for a senior facility with programming, with fire pits, and do bigger. Go bigger. What else? What would you like to see? As you grow, what amenities don't we have here that you want? My next one, if I were to stay in the seat, I told them I really wouldn't mind having a big old sports authority. Not the shop, but a place with fields and where people can have tournaments in the district. We have the land on Campbellton Road. So that would be next for me. So I'm always thinking about something else that's missing that we need to plug in.
And that's probably something you can work with the next councilman
and that's
to do.
Where we are. I'm looking at me being the president as addition for equity for the city of Atlanta. Because with me as the president, hailing from District 11, my District 11 seat person hailing from District 11, and Isha Collins hailing from District 11, I can't see why we can't keep dreaming and making it happen to make sure that we have a south side and a north side that's just booming, holding MARTA accountable so that we can actually get around without, always being in our cars, multimodal trails and paths. I just think that we just need to stay at the table. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that's what makes you different. If you ask me, I think that's what makes you different, not just for the seat or, a competitor or anything like that, but I don't like to use the word politician with you because I see you as a government official, a representative.
Okay.
Because you've had all of these years of experience in doing the work and, listening and just putting the sweat equity in. And I'm wondering, as Atlanta's, one of Atlanta's most prominent women in government, what does representation look like to you, as it seems that representation has been, attacked in some ways?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that's the polarizing climate that we're living in right now, where if you don't agree with someone or if you're not just like them, if y'all aren't the same, then there's an all-out attack. And I don't like that because I think that even when we're different in appearance or our beliefs, even if our beliefs are totally different, we all still need the same things at the end of the day. Right? You don't like potholes, I don't like potholes. You want your trash picked up, I want my trash picked up. You want your children to get a good education, well, me too. So there are a whole lot of things that I think that we will always enjoy together. And I don't think that we should look at each other in such a negative way, even when we don't agree. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm running for president, because you can't get anything done in city council without 8 votes. Nothing at all. So I don't care if you're a bulldozer or if you're screaming at everybody and I'm going to hold that council member accountable. you don't get to do that if you don't have 8 votes.
Yeah.
So that means that you have to, be at the table and amenable and collaborative and all of those things, and you can't be attacking.
Gotta be a negotiator.
You have to be a negotiator. You have to show that you care about what they care about, and you guys care about something that's the same.
And we have
right?
to come to a common goal.
You have to come and go. And this time you might get a little bit more of what you want, but next time, don't forget that these are the things that are important to me. And I think that as women, or I think that, I don't know, I always think that we have a special sauce. So that's what we represent. We represent a special sauce to everything that could possibly happen. I think we could make it better, or at least find the things that make it better. I will tell you this though, our mayor, our current mayor, Andre Dickens, he says he draws circles. I think he does draw circles. Like sometimes too many circles for me, to be honest, because I'm like, dog, why do we have to do that extra stuff right there? And at the end of the day, he has a vision of where he's trying to go. And when I have a vision of where I'm trying to go, I just want to make sure we're meeting somewhere in the middle, right?
It's all part of the bigger picture.
It's always a part of the bigger picture. But I'm always going to remember what direction he needs to go, what direction,
Right.
You're always going to remember that. But I just think that it's always about everybody showing up together. That's what makes us better.
Yeah, because as a councilwoman in District 11, you had to go and not only fight for your district and keep your district at because you're on a council, so you're like, hey, my district, I make sure we got the resources, make sure we got everything, even though something might go here first, or there may be a priority here. And you've been able to be in that space fighting for a district. And now you're able to, do that at large and for the entire council. That leads me to my final question. What's your take on Atlanta 5 years from now? And what do you want people to say about your leadership when they look back?
Okay, so 5 years from now, goodness, what year would that be? 2030?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I see the city of Atlanta really being in place and ready. Like we've done a yeoman's job of putting a lot of ground foundational things together, with the homeless trust fund, with the $120 million infrastructure bond that we just did while we're getting ready for FIFA. I see the city of Atlanta actually already being ready instead of having to get ready for major events, for I don't know, Super Bowl, whatever that is in 2030.
And sports events.
We're going to have one in 2028. But huge conventions. I mean, maybe the DNC will actually make it here because we'll have more transportation options. I do think that has crossed us off the list more than I'd like to talk about, So I think that we're going to have some of those things that we've been really trying to hold everyone accountable for. I think we're going to have them ready. Our streets are going to be good. We'll have more transportation options. We'll have our affordable housing in all 20,000 units will be erected. I just really think that we're going to be that city for sure. As president, I will be probably on my 3rd or 4th year of my quadrant town halls, which I will be starting next year for sure. I love a good town hall. And so I just think that I will be a force multiplier for my council members. I'm going to help them make everything they want to do in their individual districts amazing, because that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be their force multiplier. I really believe I'm going to just make it all better for them. So I'm looking forward to that. Just looking forward to making everything, actualized and better. That's what I'm doing.
No, I love that. And I mean, you're doing it now. That's why you've been endorsed by all your colleagues. Is there anything you like that we didn't touch on that you might want to highlight or talk about, or any last messages that you want to say?
I don't think we talked much about how the city of Atlanta has worked really hard to make Atlanta a great place to raise a family.
I did see that it's ranked the best place to live in America.
blows my mind, but I'm not shocked. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have a little bit for everybody, but I definitely want to make sure that we continue that too,
Mm-hmm.
because it really does need to be a place where you can go to school here at these great schools that we have, whether it be AU Center, Clark, Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, Morris Brown, or Georgia Tech, or Emory, any of them. I
Mm-hmm.
just really think that all of you, all of the college students should be able to actually live here and have their careers here and raise their children here too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're working for every day.
Yeah, you've done it, making it affordable. Well, thank you, Marci. That's the take with Tyriq. So again, my guest today was Marci Collier-Overstreet. She's running for council president, but beyond the campaign, she's just a real one. I tell everybody we overly voting Overstreet, and that's what we're gonna keep doing. You fight, you listen, you're rooted in the community. You do the work, and you don't just talk about it. You don't show up, and a lot of people say that politicians show up and this and that. You don't show up when it's. I've always seen you. I know that if somebody comes to your office, you will get somebody a representation if you can't handle it yourself. So I've always wanted leaders and conversations with leaders who are about leadership, who do the work, and the legacy. So thank you, Marci, for coming on the
Thank you
show.
for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you again to Atlanta Brand Central, Evolve Films, and Marci Collier-Overstreet for helping with this production today. We just had a great conversation about leadership, about equity, about power, politics, government, everything that you could want to know and more. So make sure that you take the time to revisit this video. Make sure you take the time to go learn for it and vote Marci Collier-Overstreet. And make sure that you remember that early voting ends October 31st and election day is November the 4th. This is The Take with Tyriq.